by any means, right? Happy 5 Fact Friday. 5 Fact Friday. I'm Charlie Lamdin, and it is 5 Fact Friday. Good evening, happy Friday. It's Friday the 24th of November. This is Moving Home with Charlie. I'm Charlie Lamdin, and this is 5 Fact Friday. When I present to anyone who cares or wants to watch or disagrees, or anyone else is watching, the 5 things that have happened in the last 7 days that I think that are verifiable facts, not opinion, that have happened in the last 7 days that I think will have the biggest impact on the housing market now and into the future. I would like to welcome all my new followers. You continue to pile up in large numbers. Welcome. It's very, very cool to have you all here. And I would like to remind everybody this, that I do not believe anything I say. Do not trust me. Do not care whether I'm right or wrong. Do not put any stock in anything I say. Simply hear what I say, consider it, and weigh it up in your overall balanced view of your opinion of what you need to do to move house. I know I have lots of people watching the channel who are just interested parties and commentators and that kind of stuff who aren't actually moving, and you're all welcome, and I hope you enjoy it. And it's lovely to have you here, and I hope you find it entertaining. I don't care whether you believe me or not. I don't care whether you think I'm wrong or not. I might be wrong, and I'm okay with that. But this is what I think based on my unusual background in the property market and the city and software and politics. I haven't got a background in politics, but my basic education in politics and stuff like that. So welcome to all new followers. Hear what I have to say and disregard it if you think it's guff, or disregard the guff coming from the rest of the industry. Anyway, without further ado, let me crack on to the 5 facts that I think hit housing hardest in the last 7 days. Hope you all had a good week, by the way. So number 1, I'm curious as to what you think it is. Number 1, we had record population growth announced as at mid 2022. So this is almost 18 months old, this information. And I think it's very, very important that you realize that when you're considering how much it affects the housing market. I think it explains quite a lot. So the population of England and Wales as at mid 2022 grew at the fastest rate since mid 1962. So 60 years, the fastest population growth rate for 60 years. And that, in my mind, again, this is up to mid 2022. I think this is my opinion based on, by the way, they also say that these are estimates and expect them to be revised again. However, it's a fact that that's what they've reported. Those are the numbers. It explains a lot about the rent spikes, the rent price spikes in the last couple of years. It does go on to say that they think it's peaked, and actually there is a graph on that page that shows. I think there was a graph on that page. Maybe it's a different page. That it's that since mid 2022 it has started to come down. But anyway, that's fact number 1. Population growth is at a record rate since 1962, as at the end of June 2022. So nearly 18 months ago. It's really important. It's this week's news, but it's reporting something from almost 18 months ago. A lot has changed since then. Okay, fact number 2, and this is related, obviously, but it is a separate fact and an interesting one. UK net migration in 2022 revised upwards to 745,000 net migration. So that's everyone who came in minus everyone that went out, leaves 745,000. Now, this is a huge jump. I think it was 606,000 was the last estimate of this. And again, they're saying that it could get revised again. Links to all of these, by the way, are on the homepage of my website, mhwc.co.uk. You'll see the link to the most recent blog, which has got them all in, and also in the description below this video, wherever I can do that. So Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, it's below. It's really interesting, and this page I've linked to is a long sort of live page updating, but this is what I think is worth looking at. It has spiked and started to come down. All right. And that's why I think rents are going to fall again. I think the numbers in the boat, I mean, 20,000 in the boats this year. What is it? 27,000 people had crossed the English Channel so far in 2023. Well, that is a drop in the ocean compared to 745,000, isn't it? But this impacts housing. Of course, it impacts housing, but it impacts rental market housing, and I think it puts horrible strain on councils. It's not good. It's not good to have this level of uncontrol. And honestly, when you think that the Conservatives won the 2010 election on a manifesto promise to bring net migration down to under 100,000 a year, it's a proper, colossal, spectacular failure by any measure, whoever you are, whatever your political leanings. It's actually one of the most spectacular political failures I can remember. I mean, there are lots, but that's that one. Right, number 3. I'm sorry, everybody who was hoping for stimulus for the housing market from the autumn statement, but there isn't any, which is what I was expecting. The nearest that we got was that they have extended the existing mortgage guarantee scheme by another 18 months until June 2025. Now, I don't think there are a lot of takers for this. And I think it's interesting that they made the decision to extend it to them, because I think that reflects how long they're expecting the housing market to be really struggling. So no stimulus, no stamp duty suspension or holiday or abolishment, no stimulus, no new Help to Buy ISA, no new Help to Buy scheme, none of the things that a lot of people in the industry were hoping for, and a lot of them are now wailing that, why didn't we get any help? And I get why, but it is the stimulus, the relentless stimulus piled upon stimulus piled upon stimulus of the last 15 years that has got us into the state where the housing market cannot sustain itself, and it needs to be left to its own natural devices. So in the short term, this obviously doesn't help, because it doesn't help me either, right? I want more housing transactions. The lack of stimulus does not help that. However, in the long run, it does allow, unless they decide to suddenly pull the rabbit out of the hat in the spring budget in 2024, this is a good step towards allowing the housing market to find its new equilibrium. So there you are. That was the big fat nothing from the autumn statement. Now, the other thing that was relevant in the autumn statement, as I listened to it live, so we're now to fact number 4, okay? And Jeremy Hunt cut national insurance, and he raised the minimum wage, and he cut class 2 national insurance contributions for self-employed people, and did lots of things that sounded brilliant. And he also cut tax for businesses that were investing, so big businesses, to invest more, because he thinks it'll help stimulate growth. And I was driving all day that day, and I was listening to it in the car whilst being distracted by my kids. So I had one ear on it. And I got to the end and I thought, that sounds pretty promising in terms of people's pockets. It sounds like there were a long list of genuine financial improvements for people's pockets at many levels. There was also, I can't remember off the top of my head the details, but there was a raise in the cap on rents that councils can pay. So that will allow people who are having their rent paid by the council to have more of the rent paid by the council, because that was capped a while ago and didn't keep up with rent inflation. That's good for those people. And all of these tax cuts and things, I thought, well, given that I always say, because ever since Alex pointed out to me the fact, Alex Gramwater, also in the Housing State, pointed out the fact that house prices correlate more closely with real wage growth than anything else. I thought to myself, but this sounds like it all adds up to actually making quite a big difference to people's real take-home pay. Now, I'm not talking about the official real wage inflation, which is nominal wage increases minus inflation. I'm talking about actual real life. And I thought this was an actual real life difference. But as I then looked into it and the next day and did a few fag packet calculations, I realized that, if the economy in the UK is a highly polished turd, right, where the economy is the turd, it's been polished by the government. And if you listen to the budget speech, it sounded like everything was fine. And he sounded so positive that the economy didn't grow at all for 3 months. This total stimulus put together doesn't scratch the surface of the polished turd of the economy that we have, unfortunately. Plus, it's also potentially inflationary, but I don't really know about that. I don't have a strong opinion on that, but there are people arguing that. So without sitting down and crunching numbers, I'm afraid I think that the cuts that we've had from the budget are a drop in the ocean compared to the overall cumulative effects of the cost of living crisis, mortgage increases, rent increases, everything else. And for a while, I thought this might make me rethink my 35% price fall expectation number. I did. I really thought. I thought maybe this is the moment when actually he's cut so many taxes and it's going to put so much money back in people's pockets that their real, actual disposable income will start to go up again. And if that does, then that means house prices won't fall as far. And I honestly, for the first time since I made my 35% expectation prediction back in September 2022, with the exception of one night when I thought there was a mortgage bailout that I was wrong about, I thought, maybe, but no, I'm afraid not, sadly, because it ain't going to touch the sides. And speaking of turds, we now have the crowning turd on 5 Fact Friday, and I'm sorry, guys. The energy price cap is going up, and it's hitting the lowest houses hardest. And the smallest UK households face the biggest hike in energy prices. Households consuming the least amount of energy could pay 27% more. So even though wholesale energy prices have come right down, not for us, they haven't, and they're going to be going up in January. So sorry, guys, nothing there is good news except for the fact that perhaps population growth estimate has peaked. But there's just no good news in there for anyone. Whatever side you're on, there's just no good news in any of that. And if you think I've missed something, please let me know. Who do we have in the comments? And by the way, to all of you who have booked your one-to-one slots with me, and I haven't got back to you yet, I'm so sorry. I've been absolutely snowed under this week, and hence I'm doing 5 Fact Friday so late this evening as well. Yes, apologies to those of you who've booked your one-to-one slots with me. There are a number of you. And right now, anyone else booking one-to-one private slots with me via my website, mhwc.co.uk, it's likely to be 7 to 10 days before I can actually get a time to have our one-to-one slot. Just having a quick look in the comments here. Hello, everybody. Ricky, Cerberus, Lee, AJ, Son of Odin, John Edwards, Andrew Taylor, Russell Baker, Liam O, AJ. Do we have any quick questions? Anyone got a question for me before I wrap it up and call it a day for the week and have a weekend? Otherwise, I'm just going to pop my website address up there, which is also where you can get the links to all of those things I just showed you on the screen. And I'd like to finish with this point. I have some followers. I think they're in the minority, but there's some first-time buyer followers who really hate estate agents, and I get that. That's based on their treatment in the hands of estate agents, because the housing industry in this country is embarrassingly and shamefully dysfunctional. How bad it is, and most estate agents, but not all, most estate agents would say, "Yeah, housing market, the estate industry is terrible." But most of them don't think that they are part of it. They all think they're okay. Very, very few. I mean, honestly, literally 95% of agents think that it's shocking the state of the industry and then pointing the finger at someone else. And they all think that it's not them. They're fine, they think. But there are some good ones. 95% is too high, 85%. So I get why a lot of you have had nothing but poor experiences from estate agents, and that is the case. But that doesn't justify total fantasy criticisms that are just unhelpful and actually are like punching yourself in the face if you want agents to show you property. And the example I'm going to give is this. Showing proof of funds. Now, it might just be a minority of you, but in case there are any others that are, without realizing it, trying to buy a house and being knocked back by estate agents all the time, aka punching yourself in the face, because when you are asked to show proof of funds, you're outraged and horrified. And no, I'm not showing you proof of my funds. I mean, if you can see that from an estate agent's point of view, good or bad, you go, well, we've got this buyer here who's saying he's got the funds and won't prove it to us, and we've got this buyer here who's happily shown us a screenshot of his bank statement. You leave them no choice but to ignore you at that point. I'm not saying that it's okay or good or bad. That's just how it is. And someone was even saying, well, I mean, if they show me their bank statement, I'll show them mine. Their bank statement's got nothing to do with the transaction. You are being asked to show that you are actually in a position to afford to buy the house. They can't just trust you because loads of people say they can buy a house when they can't. Anyway, I just thought I'd point that out. You need to just accept the fact that this is an ugly game played on a shitty pitch, but it's the only one there is at the moment until I manage to make it better with Best Agent, which I'm working hard on doing. So if you want to buy or sell a house at the moment, you've got to go and play the ugly game on the shitty pitch, and you've got to make the best of it as it is now. Okay. So if you are out there viewing and viewing and viewing, but then telling an agent, no way am I showing you my proof of funds, don't be surprised when you get knocked back. And them showing you their bank statement doesn't really achieve anything, does it? And someone said, well, what if they go bust? Doesn't change anything. If you've had an offer accepted on a house that they're selling, your solicitors will proceed that transaction without the estate agent, even if they've gone bust. It makes no difference how much money an estate agent or an estate agency company's got in their bank account to whether or not you're offering on a property. That's just nuts, guys. Nuts. Any last minute questions while I was having my little... Oh, good question. I haven't got an answer to that. Mad Mountain Man says, question, just how are these bankrupt councils going to pay the new rent ceiling, Charlie? Very good question. Stealthful says, question, there was a property that came on the market after being sold originally a year ago, but at the same price. Do you think the seller would consider taking a cut as we think it's overpriced? I have no idea, but it's always worth putting an offer in. I get this kind of question an awful lot. And the answer is, if it's still on the market, it means no one's bought it. It means no one's made an acceptable offer, which means it's worth putting an offer. What have you got to lose? What have you got to lose? Just put your offer in, whatever it's worth to you. Disregard the asking price. Either it's priced sensibly and it's going to have other buyers competing for it, or it's not, and you might be the only offer and you might get lucky. Right, guys, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to call it Quick 5 Fact Friday. I hope you had a great week. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. And thank you for all your messages and comments. And the number of them is rising and rising and rising. And I don't have a team to help me with social media. So I don't, I'm struggling, but I do try to read as much as I can. But there's a backlog of unread private messages on all the social platforms. And I'm thinking that maybe as it gets quieter around Christmas, I might just try and plow through some of them and do some answers to some questions. I always love Q&As. But if anyone wants to send me a video question, I'd love it. Send me a video message on Instagram in private message or on X. Excuse me. I would love it. It would be really, really cool. Anyone who sends me a video question, if it's about moving, I promise, I commit that I will answer your video question with the video. All right. You don't need to reveal your full details. Just say your first name, roughly what part of the country you come from. Give me a question and I'll answer it. Okay. So if you want me to answer a question, the other way I guarantee to answer questions is if you join up with my Buy Me a Coffee Club, the Movers Club, who you guys have been neglected recently, I know, and I'm going to make it up to you. But I do guarantee to answer all questions there. Thank you, guys. Enjoy all your weekends. Thanks a lot. See you soon, guys. Bye-bye.